The Chevy Malibu was cool in the 70s, and now they're trying to be cool again to people who grew up in the 70s who might now be the parents of teenage drivers. Tell us about the new features in the Malibu, Roberto.
So the Malibu has a lot of the features you'll find in the Volt and a lot of other. They have that same infotainment system in the middle. But what's nice, and it's like I said, and it's not the muscle car of the late '60s, early '70s, which is kind of disappointing for people who like to go really fast. But most people, you're not going fast anymore anyway. You're stuck in traffic. But for families who kind of still want that Chevy name, the Malibu is out there, and it has this cool thing that'll keep your kids. Maybe not keep them, but it'll dissuade them from speeding. It'll dissuade them. It'll remind them to put their seatbelts on. And then once they take the car out and they come back, it has a report card. Now this is the best part: is the report card, because it tells the parent, okay, little Timmy went over 70 miles an hour 7 times, and he. There's the speed warnings. He had front collision alerts, which means you're following too closely. When he slammed on the brakes a couple times, stability control when he was trying to do donuts in the parking lot at the local Jack in the Box. It gives you all that sort of information, so you can have a conversation with your kid about their driving, or at least stop them from taking the car on Friday. If you're like, hey, if you're going to drive like an idiot, we're not going to let you have the car. Which, as a teenager, I drove like an idiot and wrecked my parents' car, and continue to drive like an idiot. Now I write about cars. So,
wow,
that's not a good lesson for people.
No, well, I mean, I had to go to court, and the police had to escort me home, and it was.
You needed a report card, is what you needed.
Yeah, I did. Before that wreck, I needed a report card to remind me. And to show my parents to be like, you know what, you're going around corners probably a little too quickly. And they're like, well, what? The car says you're going around the corner too quickly. And then, the accident I had, I went around a corner too quickly and high-centered my dad's car on a rock.
I went around a corner too quickly, too. I think that I bent the axle. Yeah, it's not a good scene. So, yeah, I love this. I was hoping that autonomous cars would be around before my children started driving, but that's going to happen in 3 years. My kids will get driver's licenses. I don't think that's going to happen. So I like this. I like the report card aspect. I like it all. It does something with the stereo, too, right? Like you can't turn the stereo turns off if something.
If they don't have the people in the front don't have their seatbelts on, the stereo won't turn on.
Oh, penalty.
Which as a teenager, music and driving go together like nothing else. That's all I did. I would just drive around and listen to music way too loud. That's all I did as a teenager. And, if you can't listen to your music because you don't have your seatbelt on, you're just going to put it on. At the same time, kids have always had their, seatbelts at this point. I remember we didn't have the seatbelt law in California didn't pass until I was like 11 or 12. So that reminds you how old I am. I'm like 73.
I'm kind of fascinated by the thought, I've been thinking about this lately, about how technology enables so much monitoring of our kids. As parents, you can do so much in the monitoring side of things, be it the device that they're carrying around, here in this case in the car, and keeping report cards. I wonder what the long-term ramification is for placing our children under this technological police state. Because parents have always cared about their children. I'm not saying that we haven't, parents haven't always kind of tried as best as they can with the tools that they have to keep track of their kids in different ways. But now it's down to a micro level, right? Now you can literally put a device on them, phone, and track everywhere that they go and know all the things that they do in a car when they're driving around. I wonder what that means for the grown-up, that had their childhood living under that microscope. I don't know.
Well, there's a concern of, the Apple, to bring up the Apple FBI thing, but, being tracked by the government. And if you are used to being tracked by your parents, if you become very comfortable with that, then, and kids are already comfortable with being tracked by their friends, being tracked by advertisers. When authority figures and you feel comfortable with them being, tracking you, then, 20 years, the idea of the government tracking you might not seem that bad.
Right.
Well, right now we find it, appalling.
Absolutely.
I mean, my parents tracked me out, my entire childhood.
Yeah.
So what's the difference?
Yes. And as a parent, of a teenager, and I don't, only one of my 3 kids has phones, and I don't have Find My Friends, and we've had a conversation about it. And I think it's important. Everybody gets to make their own choice. I'm not going to judge other people that do track their kids. I actually take advantage of the fact that she's usually with friends who are being tracked by their parents. So I can then take advantage of that. But, but you can see where a feature like this is really being sold like you described it. Like, here is something that you can have a conversation with your children about. It's not going to save you. It's not going to save them. It's not going to make them stop driving 70 miles an hour. It's like, you just have to hope, like the rest of us, that you don't get in an accident, as we didn't, and then you can have a conversation about it.
Yeah. I think if you see your kid doing these sort of things and driving, there's a conversation, and B, there's driving schools, there's weekends where you can go and race around a track. If that's something that your kid enjoys, if your kid likes driving fast, put them on a track. Put them somewhere safe. Put them somewhere where they're going to be trained to drive, and they're going to be better drivers because of it, because they're going to realize that this is, the appropriate place to drive quicker. And also, they'll learn defensive driving skills.
Right.